Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cartoon Conversations. This is our, fifth episode? God, I can't believe we've gotten this far. Sixth?
Yep.
God, I can't believe I can't remember how to do math. But welcome back, and we will be discussing this episode as continuing the plot of Justice League Unlimited. This is not one of our old filler episodes. We are going back deep into the main characters.
Yes.
Are you excited,
Jordan?
Jordan?
Call it filler if we're 6 episodes in and there's been 2 plot episodes and 4 filler. At this point,
filler is the main story now, Jordan.
Yeah, the filler is the main story at this point.
Run this shit, man.
So, our big question for the day is, what is the role of scientists in the DC universe? Because we're going to have our big scientist of the show introduced in this episode. And we were just kind of thinking, he's kind of a rock star in this world.
Just sciencing about, man.
It's like regular scientists are Albert Einstein in this episode, that just knowing a scientist is a really cool thing, and you have to treat them with respect for being a scientist.
You just gotta science really hard, man.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that it's literally everyone in this show is, you have something that... You offer something to the government, and immediately you have, you're this mysterious power that they want to abuse completely. I don't know. Yeah, pharmaceutical companies, boy bands, somehow boy bands.
Oh my god, all of the things Question discusses are like the most mid-2000 things ever.
Oh my god, everything
it's
that's
fantastic how nostalgic this episode is. So I'm going to start on the episode breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
We open on feet running through a city. A man in black...
Just feet.
Sorry, a man looks back, scared, and we see heat vision melt a doorknob he is trying to open. Supergirl floats down menacingly. And we know something
are you reading the
very
script,
wrong.
or were these your notes?
These are my notes.
Oh, dude. Killer.
And she threatens him and says he told no one, to which she says, "Good, you're the only loose end."
Yeah, this is some crazy shit going on here with Supergirl. So, she is devious at the moment. What is going on at the, right here? Some crazy conspiracy crap. Why is Supergirl of all people, she's just going nuts.
Yeah, and she doesn't even have the evil Spock beard. It's so rude.
She doesn't
the evil
have
people
evil
don't
Spock
clearly
beard.
signify themselves. So rude.
Too much.
So, men on the top of the rooftop behind her shoot her with a green beam that hurts her. Maybe it's like a kryptonite beam?
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be, like, besides the fact that they shot her, signifying, these were people aiming, they started working on her. So we know that they were there to kill her, because that shit hit her, that shit worked. So, that's some kryptonite crap right there. They are a uniformed attack squad for her.
No, they are.
Yeah.
But who employs them? Why are they attacking her? These are questions that are never answered.
Because they jerks.
Yeah, literally, I don't have a better answer than they're kind of dicks.
Because they all jerks.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is maybe because she was wearing the Supergirl outfit, they thought she was Supergirl and not who we later find out who she is.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
So, continuing on.
Let's try.
So, unfortunately, they miss their shot, and she zooms in front of them.
Zoom!
Yes. And beats him with his own gun. His friend tries to help, but guns are just useless in the DC universe. So he's unsuccessful. She's about to kill him, but 3 more fly in with jetpacks to take her out. She flies away, and she's not really scared of them. She's just kind of having fun with it.
Yeah.
And they give chase. She
could
also, let's add, we saw her go like the speed of sound. just like a minute ago.
She
could clearly escape from them if she wanted to.
Yeah, she just like Naruto's the crap out of there and teleports or something.
Yeah, it was like Naruto. I don't remember what it's called, but Kakashi does it, and he like just jumps in front of people.
We're getting so mad, but like at this point you realize that she is most definitely something crazy is going on. She blows up a car.
Yeah, there were people in that car.
She shoots a civilian.
Yeah, that was strange.
Holy crap!
Oh, I think I know what happened to the guy. I'll explain at the end of this. Okay, so she drops a stone bird on one of her pursuers.
Yeah.
She blows up a car and then they dodge. She flies behind a billboard and then they have a shot at her, but they miss again. And she crushes the remaining two with the billboard. We zoom in on her as we flash the same running feet we started with. She gets to the guy and but is attacked by a surgical robot, which pins her to the ground and attacks her with a drill of kryptonite.
Yeah, it's got like some kind of crazy robo, spider battery thing going on. It's got all these arms and it's pinned to the wall and it holds up the drill and it's like da-na-na-na.
Yeah.
That's the killer.
So she barely defeats
that. Was my contribution.
By kicking it.
Yes.
And
it flies off into the background,
through the wall.
Breaks through a wall, and then we see our little man that was running away from her.
Yeah. Her eyes light up. And we get an establishing shot of the building. It's a big mansion. Over the man screaming.
Yes.
Then Supergirl wakes up in her bed. Okay, now here's my theory of what that is. That was actually the hologram city we see later in the episode. That whole thing, because we would have heard if a car blew up. There would have been consequences. This show's good enough about it that we assume there would be consequences if Supergirl blew up a car in public. So this was... And that's why the men were chasing her to make it harder. But they tossed the real scientist in there because they wanted him dead. And they just ordered her to kill him. And part of the training episode exercise was that she had to have people trying to stop her.
Okay. I get that. I don't know. I really feel like... I don't know. just the sheer fact that there's... They don't really try to explain against the fact that she might be this Power Girl, might actually have the connection to her. So she's going off and doing all the things that the government wants her to do. I feel like she actually did this. She went off, and then they had all these crazy, people trying to take her down because they're a part of the scientists group. They're part of the government, the other government, that's not trying to fuck around with, superheroes or whatever.
I think the scientist had some powerful friends, maybe. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my contribution.
Okay. Yeah, we don't really get a answer on that.
Yeah, a full explanation.
But I think both of those are perfectly acceptable answers, which I can go forward in the episode with. So, I think that's okay. So, let's see. So, now we get Supergirl's room, which has several awesome features in it. So, okay. Here is it. Pink bed sheets. Pink 1950s style nightie. No mess at all. It is clean as an army base. Framed picture of a boy band. A vanity over a bureau. A flower pattern vase. It's like the most 1950s Kansas thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty much where she is at the moment. Yeah. She even says, like, what does she call her the person taking care of her? Like
Pa Kent.
Pa Kent, right.
Yeah. So, that was fantastic. And we find her curled into a ball, scared. And she looks up and finds 2 smoking holes in her ceiling. Her face is sweating and terrified as we cut to credits.
Some people have, weird sleepwalking things. I guess, superheroes have sleep lasers.
Yeah. Also, this is one of the most powerful... Sorry?
No, she's saying like I wet the bed again, except instead of wetting the bed, she shot lasers.
That's all. I love this scene because it uses no words.
Excuse me.
And it's not that long, and you go straight through it. But it tells you so much about her character. From learning about her room to how scared she is. Her worst nightmare is hurting people. It says great things about her character. About how she doesn't have quite full control over her powers with the eye lasers. It's so great. And there's almost no words in it. There's no dialogue at all. It's just brilliant animation. I really have to credit the director and the writer here. In the Hawk and Dove podcast episode, which is the writer wrote that one too.
Right.
There was also some good stuff that was just completely wordless.
A lot of show don't tell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was really great.
The scene where Wonder Woman realizes who had made the robot or the suit of armor. The scene where Wonder Woman realizes how to beat it. The scene where Dove actually beats it.
Yeah.
A lot of that. A lot of no talking.
Yeah. I love it when these directors and writers just let the animation speak for itself.
Right.
And they don't use words. So, we got the credit. We come out of our credits, and we open in the Watchtower with Martian Manhunter and
the Watchtower.
Supergirl. Sorry. Supergirl around a table having coffee. We find out that this nighttime heat vision isn't a one-time thing. In fact, Pa Kent is getting pretty sick of fixing the ceiling. Which is just fantastic. That it's just such a great domestic little moment.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that she's talking to what's his name? To Martian Manhunter like he's a therapist.
He is sort of a therapist for these people, and that's what makes it great. That he's a therapist and kind of a father figure for her. We talked in the first episode about how the League is in some ways raising Supergirl.
Right.
And she has this, like, I know better than you, but at the same time, I really, really depend on you for my self-esteem attitude toward the League.
I feel like it's a lot of... It's a lot of, angsty teenager stuff. It's not, I know better than you. It's, like, I'm going to do what I want because that's what I do.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. But when the barriers come down, when something happens to her, that's who she turns to.
When shit hits the fan, indeed.
Yeah, and I love how vulnerable they're letting her be. That this Supergirl is really scared that she did something bad. And it says great things about her character, that she's this disturbed at the thought of hurting someone.
Right.
So, Martian Manhunter says he doesn't really understand dreams.
She doesn't want to be accountable for any more bodies.
Yeah. But he doesn't know. But he does know that this isn't a simple dream. Martian Manhunter puts her on the inactive roster as a precaution. He has real concern for her as he walks away because he has to talk to President Chojeb. And as we zoom on her incredibly vulnerable face, terrified that she might have been responsible for those actions.
Dude, her face was so vulnerable.
And now we cut to Supergirl with Green Lantern. And, by the way, I love this scene. Let's see, what's the timing we're at? 13:50. So, in this scene... Sorry, one second, I'm going to have to pause it.
Yeah, you do you, girl.
Okay, so what's really cool about this scene is that in the background, they put the Justice Society of America, which was the first superhero team ever.
Right.
And they just had her and Green Lantern talking, and they never reference it or anything. But, Wildcat is getting lunch. Black Canary, Dr. Midnight, and all those people are just sitting in the back chatting, and they're all friends. It's fantastic. Also, this night-themed superhero is in the background. He appears in a later episode. He's kind of cool. So. But to the actual scene. Let's see. Supergirl explains that the dreams are very real. And that... Sorry.
Sorry.
And that Green Lantern doesn't quite understand. he mentions a dream he had about Black Canary.
Oh, yeah, and he said, I had a dream like that once before, and he turns to look at Black Canary as he slowly eats his freaking french fries.
Yeah.
Which just further goes to show how much of a horn dog he is, so...
Yeah. But thankfully he focuses on women who can kind of handle themselves.
Well, yeah, confidence is very sexy.
No, it is, but I'm just saying, if you released it, he would be very bad for a woman who wasn't a superhero.
Right.
Because
sorry.
he, for all his really great qualities that we discussed in episode 1, he also is kind of lecherous, and he needs someone to kind of make him toe the line.
Yeah, a little spitfire, if you will.
Yeah. So, I also really like, as the consequence of episode 1, they're now really close. Because they fought that giant robot together.
Yeah.
And they saved each other's lives. There's a bond there.
Yeah, no, definitely. That part is really nice to
who
see.
She turns to. I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, in all honesty, when they were sitting there talking about whatever, I really enjoyed that moment. Yeah. It was a really touching scene, and it was just, the fact that these characters aren't just kind of that one-sidedness where it's Green Arrow is a pervert and he sticks out for the little guy, and Batman is the, he's a rich kid with problems, but, each one of them really goes and, does something that's worth a damn.
Yeah, and they grow and improve because of the actions.
Right.
We had, which is just so fantastic. So, I love that they did that. Now...
I'm dying.
Yes.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Okay. So, he's still looking at Black Canary when Supergirl says she can't live with the idea that she might have done this. And now... Green Lantern is now at attention. Because after she says that...
He is at salute.
He's like, okay, I was kind of dismissive before. I don't really think this is a big deal, but...
But then shit just got real, so...
But if you're in trouble, I'll go on this goose hunt. So, Supergirl demands to know if he's going to help. At this point, Green Lantern gets serious. He says she might just have been in Kansas too much. Then, the Question walks up and says that it might be real. Question says she's been to Star Labs, and he fills her in the backstory of evil Superman and needing healing. Was that in Justice League? I don't remember that in Justice League. When Superman turned evil?
Superman turned evil and she needed healing. I can't remember. I don't think she was, but it's a definite possibility.
I don't think this was in... I don't think it was in Justice League.
It could have been just a reference to some old comic.
Yeah, it happened in the comics, I know.
They did gloss over it really quickly.
It's an important part of... what was it? It's an important part of the episode, but... Yeah, no, I just looked through the episodes of Justice League. No, it never actually happens in Justice League. We just are told it happens, which is strange, but whatever. It's in the Superman comic, so we can just assume it happened. So, Green Lantern plays the voice of reason there, pointing out that even though there was a gap when she was at Star Labs that she doesn't remember, she was on the operating table. Probably not going out on a killing spree. The Question disagrees, saying that she might have how should I put this? She might have repressed the memories and this is how they're coming back, which is something that happens. It's like a Freudian psychological idea. I've read it in an actual scholarly paper.
Oh, definitely. They talk about that in a lot of different contexts. Even older cartoons made some references to that. I remember an episode of Power Rangers said, you often forget or repress things you don't truly understand.
It's a very good storytelling device, yeah. So, sorry. So,
It's
Green
convenient.
Lantern then plays the voice of reason, pointing out correctly that the question is crazy. The question disagrees, while simultaneously proving Green Lantern's point. Which is just fantastic writing. Sorry, yeah?
No, it's just kind of funny. It's like, question, you are kind of nuts.
Yeah, and he goes, not conspiracies. Conspiracy.
Yeah, not conspiracies, conspiracy. Singular. Everything is connected. And you just, oh my god, I fall in love with the question. He's so much fun to just watch.
Yeah, every moment he's in. I don't know who the voice actor is. I couldn't find it on IMDb. But
he's in his own little world,
that
and he loves it there.
That voice actor is fantastic. He plays the I'm crazy but smarter than everyone around me.
Right.
Perfectly. He never goes into camp. He's always the question. It's perfect. So,
never goes to camp.
So now we cut to Question's room, and he's explaining his theory about how there's a cabal of evil people controlling the world. And there's two things I absolutely love in this scene. One, we get to see the Question's room, which is fantastic. It tells so much about his character.
You can pretty much just tell what he's based off on just by looking at it for 1 second. There are posters everywhere,
the
flyers,
Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot.
Just like everything is connected and everything is it's like a crime investigation thing. He looks like he's, a private eye.
Yeah,
and that's exactly
it looks like a crazy private eye's room. He's got the big board with all the red tape and the newspaper clippings, and he's got a picture of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, and he's got a computer, and there's newspaper articles pasted all over the room. It's fantastic, and the direction here is fantastic. How they chose to show the Question's room explains his character perfectly. Mm-hmm. And the second part I love is that Green Lantern and Supergirl walk in about halfway through his speech. He was just saying that whole speech to an empty room. Yeah. Which is so funny.
I'm sure he's quite familiar with doing so, but...
Yeah, he probably figures no one listens to me anyway. I might as well just get this off my chest. Because when Green Lantern and Supergirl come in, they act like they heard the whole thing. Which I imagine Green Lantern just paused her outside, just okay, we're gonna hear some crazy shit. Yeah! Just smile and nod. Girl, please, trust me, I know this guy. Just smile and nod. And she's like...
Just don't look him in the eye, alright?
Okay. I'll do that. He seems weird. So they just act like they heard everything. And in Question's room, let's see... we see some of the connections, and they're all classic mid-2000s gripes. Coffee shops. There's so many coffee shops, and the boy bands, and everything. Government conspiracies. Everything is just so 2000s.
He has a poster that says "I know" with an alien symbol on it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And my favorite thing is we have a picture. We have, in fact, the same picture that was framed in Supergirl's room and now we find out their name is the Super Fresh W Boys.
Right? Which was probably a play on NSYNC, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a play on NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or one of them.
W Boys. Yeah. Something that starts with a letter and has boys in it.
And they had just that, classic boy band look. Token black guy, strong one, cute one, leader.
He's the cute one. He's the funny one! Chris is the funny one!
Exactly. They had all of those tropes.
Yeah.
It was so perfect. Just delightful. Okay. So Green Lantern reacts like a normal person and is dismissive.
You mean Green Arrow?
Supergirl is wondering what this has to do with her dreams.
You said Green Lantern.
Sorry? Yeah?
You said Green Lantern.
Oh, sorry. Green Arrow. Yeah, I just noticed I abbreviated all of the green arrows here to GL in my notes. So, Question thinks that Supergirl's dreams are part of a conspiracy, and he's going along. Green Arrow thinks the dreams are real, still thinks the dreams are, dreams. Saying, it might just prove she shouldn't eat nachos before bed.
Yep.
Question replies, peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah.
Supergirl, how did you know? Do you go through my trash?
Do you go through? She says it with like such a pout, like, I know you did that, and I don't approve at all.
Yeah.
And his response is so fantastic. And it just goes, it completely sets up his character. Yeah. And he just looks at her, and I forget what he says at first.
He just walks away and goes,
yeah,
please.
I go through everyone's trash. Oh my God. It was like, it's just such a, I'm in my own little world, but I'm so fine with that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm in my own little world, and it's the best place to be. I loved that scene. Oh my God. I go through everyone's trash. I go through Batman's trash, Superman's trash, Green Lantern's trash. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love that. I imagine that's just how he spends his Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
Right? He's just like in Metropolis going through Superman's trash, like, huh? It's kind of funny. He reads the Post. I thought he'd read the Daily Planet.
He reads the Daily Planet.
Everybody has surprises. So, continuing on. So, we see the establishing shot of the building Dream Supergirl killed the man in. And we find out that it's Star Labs. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
So, if you're not a big DC fan, Star Labs is the premier science place of the DC universe,
where all the science happens, and all the really high caliber scientists also happen.
Yes, so they're all there, and there's no real like usually if a place is doing basic research, something like Bell Labs, they have specialties, but these scientists are just good at everything. A PhD in the DC universe is way more impressive than in our universe.
I'm sciencing really hard right now.
Yeah, like pretty much that's what you get about scientists. They're like, he's a scientist. Of course he knows high-level biology.
Pretty much
and
evil
high-level
too,
physics.
Right?
And high-level chemistry.
What?
And genetics.
Star Labs was in Young Justice, right?
Yeah.
Were they evil? Pretty sure they were evil.
I think Star Labs jumps between... I think it has both evil and good parts to it. Honestly, I think that...
Oh, right! They had, like, the underground.
No, that was Cadmus.
Right, Cadmus.
But, Star Labs... sorry. So it wasn't...
I'm just like...
Star Labs has both evil and good scientists in it. It's just all the best are there. You're either at LexCorp, Wayne Tech, or Star Labs, if you're a great scientist. Those are pretty much your three choices. Here's what it is. So, there's good and evil in all three. Obviously, LexCorp, you're going to have your concentration of evil. Wayne Tech, you're going to have your concentration of good. And Star Labs is kind of the in-between. So, continuing on. Dr. Hamilton shows Supergirl the place where she was in a coma. He says she wasn't on any violent missions because she was, in a coma.
In a coma. Just, kind of being in a coma.
So,
Not a fun place to be, I can assure you.
And Dr. Hamilton also has an explanation for the dream in which the giant surgery robot attacked her. He says the robot operated on her when she was in a coma. He says vulnerability might have been the cause of the dream. Green Arrow is satisfied by this.
She's not.
But question is not. So, question about that. He
even says, it was...
They go by that, like, that's a perfectly reasonable thing.
Yeah.
But on Krypton, she was perfectly vulnerable. Her species evolved as a vulnerable species. So I don't really see why her reaction to being vulnerable would be any different than ours. Because she lived the first 13 years of her life on Krypton, and where she was vulnerable just like a normal human. And she's only been on Earth like 4 or 5 years.
It's one of those coming into it kind of things.
Yeah.
Where
I don't know.
You know,
So, what was I saying again? Yeah.
something about cheese, maybe.
So, yeah, I don't know. I thought that explanation doesn't make sense, but they're very satisfied by it. It's one of those things that sounds really good when you say it, but it doesn't really make sense. And I think that fits, that's perfect foreshadowing for what we find out about Dr. Hamilton's character. So, then helicopters and robots attack them. The Question lays out a plan non-verbally to Green Lantern in another brilliant bit of animation. They use kind of like a military sort of style hand motions, which I imagine the League has standardized, and they everyone knows them. So for these situations,
they don't really show other people using those. It's really just the Question kind of just pops into that. So you feel like that's more of qualities of the Question.
Oh, you think?
The Question having training with militarized hand signals. The Question understanding immediately what to do in this kind of situation.
Well, you might be right. I don't know.
It's not might be, Jordan. It's of course I'm right.
So, helicopters and robots attack them. Question lays out the plan non-verbally, and they both execute it brilliantly. While Supergirl fights the robot. We see the Question defeat his guy, and Supergirl defeats the robot.
His guy.
While Green Arrow blows up the helicopter. Yeah. Which scatters the remaining soldiers, and then the other helicopter retreats. Mm-hmm. Green Arrow is curious about why, and frankly, so am I. If they were trying to kill Supergirl, that's a really bad way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you should have some kryptonite and something stronger than a single robot.
I don't know, man. That robot had like a crescent forehead, so it was packed and ready to kill her, man.
So this is kind of the second time in the episode, and this seems to be a theme of Robert Goodman's scripts, that this totally awesome thing happens that doesn't really make sense, but you're kind of willing to go along with it because it's totally awesome. Like here, it's like, okay, they tried to kill them. It was kind of a lame attempt, but...
Shh, just accept it.
But yeah, if you just go shh, just accept it, the story works.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was good enough and exciting enough that I was willing to go shh, don't accept, just accept it. What do you think, Elliot?
I mean, it's also, the other guys were there still just for backup. So I feel like, they definitely were going to try and take out the other two.
Yeah, they were trying to take out the other two too, but the robot was not enough to take out Supergirl. In DC lore, she's going to be stronger than Superman.
Yeah. I feel like the reasoning there was the fact that Supergirl was going to be pinned down by the robot, and then while the robot was punching her a bit, because she wasn't handling it immediately. It was a little bit to handle.
I mean, it was, but they also said later that it's a model that she fights all the time in training things. Mm. So she was going to win that. Mm. Never did I feel that this robot was a serious threat to her.
Right.
It was kind of a fun action scene, but
Okay, yeah, I guess you could say it was lacking a bit in terms of plot, relevance, and or continuity.
Yeah, there was a lot of better ways to do this. This was just an action scene for an action scene, and it doesn't do justice.
Right.
To this show.
For great justice.
Pardon the pun there.
No, it's fine.
So, let's see. Green Arrow is curious why, but Question thinks it's because they're on the right track. Supergirl sides with Question because the robot is the same robot that the League uses in training. This leads them to General Hardcastle. We go to an establishing shot in the woods, of a cabin in the woods, I should say. And we open the house, and he has a kryptonite gun.
Dude, that's nuts.
Supergirl attempts to defuse the situation, but Green Arrow jumps in front of Supergirl without a thought. And this moment says so many great things about his character. About how he kind of views Supergirl as like a surrogate daughter. That he doesn't think twice about him dying because the guy shoots. He just he's got to protect Supergirl.
Right. He just goes ahead and does it.
There's like an almost manic gleam in his eyes and voice because Supergirl is threatened. And it's so well animated and voice acted.
Well, I like the fact that it also made sense the way he said it. He knew that the other person wasn't going to shoot because of the fact that if he did, he would have absolutely nothing to bank off of.
Yeah. No, you're right. But he could have also had just a gun, too. Like, he could have just taken a gun out of a holster, shot Green Arrow. When he fell, shot Supergirl. So, Green Arrow's taking a big risk here, but he doesn't think twice about it. It's just a great character moment for him, and I loved it.
Right.
So, she's really touched. And by this...
By an angel.
Yes. And he is beaten by the question. So, we find out... sorry, yeah?
No, keep going.
We find out that after the evil Superman incident, he was pushed out of the army. He knows the army is going to kill him eventually... because the military and big business are in cahoots. Which sounds like something a 9/11 truther would say, but whatever. So, also another great mid-2000s moment. So, she explains that the military was behind many of the supervillains, and he says there's a file on every Justice League member.
Yeah.
Question asks where to find him, and he says, they find you.
He's so intimidating in such a weird way.
Yeah.
But I love him, you know? He's very goofy in the sense that he's trapped in his own little world, but he knows everything in that little world. So, you know, he's in a sense one of the most powerful superheroes because he doesn't play by literally any... There are no rules in this world but his own.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Question does live in a different world. I wonder... if they let him in the league almost just to keep an eye on him. Like in Young Justice, what they do with Dr. Fate.
Right.
That they don't really consider him a hero, but at the same time, they're unwilling to let him roam free.
Right.
Because he's that sort of scary anti-hero that the league has to control. You know, in Superman's original speech, we can't all be cowboys anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The question...
boy, howdy.
Yeah. So, the heroes leave. Green Arrow thinks it's a dead end, but the question isn't quite sure. They go up to the watchtower, and General Hardcastle is killed by the woman in Supergirl's dream, who we find out is named Taya.
Taya.
So, Supergirl wakes up in the question's room.
Not from Yu-Gi-Oh, Taya.
Yes.
She actually does something in this one.
Yes. Yeah, I think the most important thing she did in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh show was draw the marks on their hand in the first episode.
Right. I remember that.
So, Supergirl wakes up and informs them that General Hardcastle is dead. Martian Manhunters tells them that a scientist is missing. And it's one of the ones from... And Supergirl recognizes him as one of the ones from his dream. Which...
she's doing science things.
Yes. No, but I am okay with this scene because it's kind of weird serendipity.
What do you mean?
Like, Martian Manhunter just happened to tell them about this scientist that died. Isn't that like a little below the league to investigate a murder? But it makes sense when we talk about our question about how these scientists are like superheroes.
Yeah, they're like rock
celebrities.
stars. Yeah, they get paraded around. You know, their discoveries are literally the talk of the town.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of makes sense in a world where a genius scientist can change the world. And in becoming a scientist, you're also really good at economics and finance and social skills and anything you set your mind to. So it makes sense that somebody with a PhD in science would... I don't think they have a difference between biology and physics. I think you just instantly, upon getting that PhD, know every branch of science from biology to physics.
Science.
Yes. So, we're talking about that. It works in this world where scientists are that important and that they're this precious resource that if one dies, it's a real loss.
Right.
He could have invented a way to stop crime or 101 other ways, and if he was evil, he could have been a supervillain.
They even showed him as like a family man in that shot right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
With his wife and a cup of nothing.
Yeah.
Holding a cup.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
I wonder why they had him holding the cup.
I think it made him look a little bit degenerate, because he wasn't like a clean-shaven guy.
Was it like a jovial moment, you think?
Yeah, I think it was like a jovial moment, but there was a dark side to this guy. You knew that. He was in with the wrong people.
That wasn't his choice.
I'm not so sure how much it wasn't his choice. I think he had some level of choice. But it fits in what we saw earlier with how much respect they were paying to Dr. Hamilton, who is in our world, he would be just a particularly talented doctor, similar to maybe Dr. James Andrews, the famed sports doctor.
Sports.
But Supergirl is a way bigger name than the equivalent of Dr. Hamilton in our world, but they treat him as if he's the one with due more respect. So that was kind of cool, I thought. So when Supergirl recognizes her, Green Arrow is now convinced, because there's actual proof, which is a great part of his character. He admits he was wrong like that. Just as soon as there's evidence that proves him wrong, he's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's great.
You
didn't like that?
I don't know. I just feel like that's something that, I don't know. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's sort of, I kind of just glossed over it, I guess. I didn't really pay much attention to the fact that he did that, because I still sort of see him as that combination character of being, perverse, but still like a good guy.
Yeah.
Like he's very quick thinking, very logical, and he's good at taking blows and understanding faults.
Batman.
Huh?
He's kind of like a lighthearted Batman.
Yeah, definitely. In all honesty, that's pretty much what he is.
That's actually why they invented his character.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want Batman to do certain types of stories, but they wanted a Batman character for those stories, so they made him.
He's a rich guy that fights crime.
Yeah.
And he doesn't use guns.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah. But the Question is trying to make this part of his grand conspiracy. They argue about it for a while, and they decide that Green Lantern and Supergirl will go to the Company, which is the more direct lead that the scientists worked at, and the Question will go where the Question goes.
Yeah, the Question will just go do whatever the hell he's going to do.
So, we open on a restaurant where we see the reporter who broke the story, and now another reporter asks him where he got the lead.
Oh, I love this.
Good old-fashioned legwork. Like, finding out about the murder of some random scientist is like a Pulitzer for this guy.
Yep.
Like, I love that. It says that these scientists are rock stars, these top-level scientists. They're the equivalent of huge sports stars in our world. This guy was like A-Rod. Just a huge star.
Yeah. The guy who comes up to him, though, he kind of looks disheveled. You can clearly tell he's kind of down in his luck.
Well, he's that classic grizzled reporter. He goes, he works hard investigating corruption, and then he goes and he boozes all night, and then the next morning he wakes up and does it again. He's Grizzled McReporter.
I'm sorry, what now? Grizzled McReporter?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, he says
goodbye, and the reporter who broke the story, and he goes outside and he gets into a taxi. The taxi pulls into an alley, and we see that the cabbie is actually the Question in disguise.
In disguise.
We also see that the medallion in the back of the cab has a picture of who's supposed to be driving the cab.
Oh my God, I remember I wanted to talk about that. I didn't know what I wanted to say, but I'm just like, this is something I want to talk about.
Okay, this guy should have noticed there was a difference. He was clearly Scottish. The question disguiser was Scottish.
Yeah.
He had like youthful features and red hair, and he was like very Scottish.
Yeah.
And the picture on the medallion
Was like
is
turban,
an Arab
not
man
that guy in front.
with a Dumbledore beard and a turban.
Oh my god, yeah. Which was pretty much, absolutely what freaking the stereotype is.
Of a cabbie, yeah.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Question definitely just took the guy to the cab, punched him in the face, and then drove off in the cab.
There we go, the end. That's how life works.
But you think the question would have remembered to,
Taking that thing out?
take that detail. He's really smart. He should have remembered that. But it's very funny, so I'm willing to forgive it.
He's fine.
Which is a theme, I think, in these Robert Goodman scripts. That it's funny, or it's awesome, so I'm willing to forgive it. He's like that guy, who has this great idea, and it doesn't quite work, so he always just forces it in. And you're like, okay, it kind of worked. But it would have been better if you stuck to it. But I'm generally willing to go along with him. People who listen to this podcast, put in the comments, do you think you're willing to go onto this, having seen this episode? Did that annoy you, these lapses? So, hey, one day we might have listeners. So, when we do...
I just like the way you said that.
When we do, and they all like, comment, and subscribe...
Yes!
We will have a lively debate on Robert Goodman's writing here. Maybe I will even, for his next script, which probably exists, look into him and see what else he's written. Yeah, he's written a couple more scripts for this show. 2 more in season 2. And that's it. So, we get 2 more Robert Goodman scripts. And they're pretty good. Okay, so... Sorry.
That's fine.
GL. So, GL and Supergirl at the same time. Sorry, I know, we're still in the cab. So,
Yes.
So, we cut to Nuva-Gen. GL Green Arrow is in a security guard's outfit, and he relieves the guard, explaining the absence of the normal guy by saying the guy won a trip to Aruba.
I want to make note of the fact that the Green Arrow's shoulders are so insanely broad and just stretched out, you could fit at least 4 other heads on his shoulders.
It works because to be that broad, you kind of have to be to do the stuff he does. Like in the first episode where he just seemingly jumped to the top of that cliff somehow.
I mean, like, you don't have to have shoulders the size of a football field. You don't have to have, the girth of a body to be an archer. I'm assuming it would help.
Well, he does a lot of hand-to-hand fighting, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, they literally show him compared to the Question. The Question is like, kind of slouched. His shoulders are inwards a bit more. Well, and they're not... 5 times the size of Supergirl.
Well,
he could swallow Supergirl in his arms.
Yeah, but here's the thing: to do what he does, he kind of needs to be that strong.
I don't know.
If you're not going to have superpowers, you need to be freakishly strong.
But that's not just being freakishly strong. That's being freakishly broad-shouldered.
I also think there's part of like an angle, like it's supposed to be the camera is closer to GA.
I'll take a picture. I'll take a picture and I'll show you, and then we'll post it in the next thing that we do here.
Okay, I'll put it up. I'll put it up. Hell's shoulders in the security guard. Okay, I'll put up a picture in there, and we'll put it up for a bit so you guys could look at it. So, He relieves the guard. The guy says, they banter for a bit. Green Arrow has a great man of the people.
GL!
Yeah, I keep doing that. It's in my notes as GL.
Right.
So then Supergirl comes in, and we find out that Green Arrow actually sent him to Aruba.
Yeah.
He just has that money to send somebody to Aruba because he needs his key card. Which I also think says good things about Green Arrow's character. Because he thought about that guy and he's like, I'm going to do something nice for him before I ruin his life.
It might have also been just a play on the fact that, sending him to Aruba was knocking him out.
Yeah.
But he does say, where else was he going to go?
Yeah.
Which was like kind of interesting.
He goes, had to send him somewhere.
Yeah, had to send him somewhere.
So, however, we see a gloved hand also entering behind them.
Dun, dun, dun! Mickey Mouse is going in.
Now we cut to the taxi, and the reporter says a girl gave him the tip. He says she was a farm girl's look, and she had bad dreams too, and a very firm grip.
Yep.
The question
like
is all he needs, and tosses him out.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing I want to point out, I forgot to mention,
Yes.
Before the question reveals himself, he turns on the radio, and there's a pop song playing.
Oh, right, yeah. He says, how do you feel about the pop stuff?
How do you feel about the corporate crappy pop music? He's like, I hate it. And then he turns on corporate crappy pop music. So, it was fantastic. It was a nice play to earlier. I liked the song. It sounds like women are singing it. But it's a boy band. Maybe they still have high voices.
High-pitched
I like
voice.
to think it's the Super Fresh W boys singing.
Yeah, I love that.
And then Supergirl is listening to those songs with her friends under her framed portrait of them.
Oh my god.
So, it's a pretty catchy tune. Let's see. Now, Green Lantern and Supergirl, we cut to them, are in Nouveau Gen on the computers looking at emails. The scientist might have blown the whistle, which fits Supergirl's dream. They find out that Supergirl has been cloned. Green Lantern points out that Taya is older, let's say.
Yes,
than
more
Supergirl.
mature, as it has that really convenient breast shot.
Yeah, he was looking at her breasts.
Yeah.
So, not a great moment for him, but he's a bit of a horn dog.
That's Power Girl was all about, really.
What do you say?
That's what Power Girl was all about, really, or is all about.
Well, the story I heard about Power Girl is that the writer wanted people to pay attention to him, so every week he just made the breasts bigger and bigger until somebody yelled at him.
And then he stopped.
Because somebody yelled at him.
Oh my god! But
and that's why
ginormous.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, although they're not actually as bad as some of the other back-breaking versions in the comics, which is good because it's. There's a whole sexualization of women's thing here. This wouldn't have been a bad episode to actually talk about feminism. Although that's a lot of mansplaining, so maybe not.
Mansplaining?
Yeah, you've never heard of that? It's when men explain things while talking down to women. So I'm not sure I could talk about feminism without mansplaining, so...
Well, I mean, we're talking about cartoons talking about feminism, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Although, I still maintain it's better than the Supergirl show's version of feminism.
You are so up in a butt about that.
Okay, it's like they read the synopsis of Sheryl Sandberg's book and then read some 15-year-old boy's Reddit. And that's all they learned about feminism.
You're going to have to explain the Sheryl Sandberg's book.
She wrote this book, Lean In, which is like kind of, I'm not going to say it's on the vanguard of feminism, but it's one of the parts of feminism that basically women are taught to not assert themselves. And they need to reteach themselves to assert themselves. For instance, part of the pay gap between men and women is because men ask for raises more. And when women do it, they're seen as being pushy. Even though men doing the same thing is seen as strong.
Okay.
So, by leaning in, you're changing the culture. So it's a I don't know. I like that part of feminism. But it's not all there is to feminism. It comes with other parts of it. Which is in Sheryl Sandberg's book.
We talk a lot about feminism on this show.
Well, I love feminist theory, so sorry.
I'm not saying it's
I'm just not a big fan of men explaining feminism to people because it's not really our place. So,
what do you mean it's not our place?
I feel like feminism is a thing that, how should I put this? If men are leading in a feminist cause, it's not a feminist cause. Because we're just reinforcing patriarchy
the thing that Gandhi
to
did?
be feminism. It's just hijacking their movement.
I mean, it's really all about equality of gender. It's called feminism in the face that, it's because of the fact that women are the suppressed gender. But I feel like, men wanting equality as well isn't a bad thing.
No, I just don't think we should be in the vanguard. I think we should be supportive, but not...
On the vanguard.
But not leading. Yeah, so I try not to mention it too much because, except in calling out feminism, whatever. Feminism is very interesting, and at some point we will probably have to talk about it because it keeps coming up. So, let's see, here we are. So, Taya now asserts herself and traps them in her training room, which we saw earlier. Green Arrow explains that they're in a hologram training program, which is DC's way to make really awesome worlds. It's like their version of the holodeck in Star Trek. So, Supergirl and Taya meet. Taya reveals she planted the evidence with a reporter to get them there. She also reveals that she's going to try and kill Supergirl. Green Arrow fires an arrow at her, but she's basically Supergirl.
It does jack shit.
Yeah. He's dealt with. He's knocked into a building, and now we jump to the question. Who is examining the lock at the new Virgin door? And now this is where
this is my favorite scene in the entire fucking show.
You want to do it?
What do you mean want to do it? You want to talk about it?
Breakdown. I was going to say, okay, I'll tell what happens.
Yeah, just explain it.
He's examining the door, and in most cases, this would be where he, picks the lock or brilliantly finds a key card or something like that.
It's not even what's going on. He's examining the door, and he's also humming and singing to himself one of the boy band songs.
Yeah, he's singing one of the boy band songs, the same one that was playing on the radio.
Oh my god.
It has lyrics, but I didn't look it up. I should have done that.
I feel like if you didn't, it would be fine because no one would want to hear them.
So, he can't fool the lock. So he just takes a potted plant and breaks the door without ever breaking the song.
Oh my god! He leaves for a bit, then comes back, slams through the window, shatters it everywhere, and then he's kind of gingerly steps through.
Yeah.
Just la da 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 da.
He's so blasé about it. The voice acting is great. The animation is perfect.
It was so fucking...
All credit here goes to Dan Reba, who did a brilliant job directing this episode. Okay.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. So, let's see, here we are. We cut back to Supergirl and Taya's fighting. Supergirl hits Taya with a light post, which is just awesome, but is unable to follow up because Taya is frankly a better fighter.
Yep, they explain she is older, she's more mature, had more combat experience, and as she likes to say it, a lot smarter.
Yeah. So, let's see, but she's losing, but Supergirl's putting up a good fight. Green Arrow wakes up and the question enters. They go to help Supergirl, who is being towered over by Taya. Her uniform is ripped and she's in trouble. Supergirl asks who she works for. Taya says it goes so high, even she doesn't know. She says that Supergirl needs to... Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty big hint for where we're going with this story. I love.
Also, that is also pretty, what do you call it?
She's smarter than Mongol too, because she doesn't just like tell her whole plan. She might very well know, but she's not going to tell.
Mongol told him. I don't feel like Mongol even had much of a plan of anything that could have been stopped besides just stopping him how they normally would have stopped him.
I mean, he explained the Black Mercy plant, which ended up helping them defeat him.
Well, the Black Mercy he explained because, they already figured out the fact that it was sending Clark somewhere. Superman. They said, "Where are you, Clark?" Remember?
Yeah.
So they knew it was
I don't think
putting him
they
in a trance.
needed that line, but I think it helped.
They understood what it was doing. They knew that it was putting some hypnotic thing on Superman, but I feel like him explaining what the thing did wasn't really going to help them in any way.
Maybe you're right. I still think it's helpful to know. More information is always better.
Yeah, it was good for the audience to know.
Yeah.
It really didn't break any new ground.
Yeah. So, she says Supergirl needs to be eliminated because it's a security risk to have Supergirl spying on her through dreams. Q
Right.
says that's not true, because the reporter told him that she's been setting this up for a week, which is where dealing with the reporter, it all comes back. Great little bit of
all coming back.
Because there was a throwaway line with, "How long have you been meeting with her?" "About a week."
Yep.
And that you don't think about that. Like, that's just a question you ask. But it actually turns out to be very relevant. So he's been setting this up for a week, which is before the dream started. We find out that the link works both ways. So Taya's dream started before Supergirl's. And Supergirl is the conscience Taya can't stand. Taya denies it in a way that clearly proves it's true. The question says, "Kill me," and prove it. And Taya can't. Which is kind of awesome. It shows Supergirl's essential goodness. Which I love because, once again, same thing with Superman. Man, if you're going to be that powerful, you have to be better than the rest of us. Or you have to be eliminated. So Taya can't, and Supergirl hits her with a car. A shadowy figure is watching from a computer screen while Supergirl and Taya are fighting, when a giant beam knocks them both back. Taya screams that she can do this. She clearly has familiarity with this technology.
Yeah. Familiarity saying that someone was there.
Yeah.
Someone was behind that screen.
She says she can do this, but she's destroyed by the next beam. The building explodes.
Oh my god.
Supergirl saves Green Lantern in the Question, and we cut to the Question's rooms. They search the remains of Nouveau Gen, but no dice. Green Arrow says nothing to find. That Question says that's what they want us to think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Green Arrow says maybe there's nothing to find. Question says that's what they want us to think. Dr. Hamilton, who's also on the phone with them now, which is also shows the power of scientists here, because
power of love.
Yeah. Because they think he's important enough to bring him on this call. He says he's glad she's okay in a very fatherly way. They're clearly close. And he wishes Superman the best. So Supergirl asks him if the material for the clone came from Star Labs. Dr. Hamilton said that the material from surgery is always destroyed. He also says, "Give my best to Superman," which shows how close he is to this Superman family. I love that. They hang up, and Green Arrow says, "Why?" Question says, it started when Superman turned evil. That the government wants, basically, a way to protect itself if Superman ever goes evil again. And now we cut to Dr. Hamilton over Taya, sorry. He says, "You rest, and we'll have you better soon."
Yeah.
And pats her fatherly.
Yeah.
We fade to black as he says her full name, Galatea. So, Galatea is a reference to Greek mythology. Another reference to Greek mythology, by the way, which we've just had 3 episodes in a row. Sorry, this is the third of 3 episodes in a row where we have a significant amount of Greek mythology.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. I like all this Greek mythology. In the story, she's from the story of Pygmalion, where a statue comes to life in Cyprus. And it's a sort of Pinocchio story where the king falls in love with the statue, and then it comes to life.
Which is very much akin to what Power Girl is at the moment.
Yeah, she's kind of a Pinocchio sort of figure.
Yeah, she was not originally, she wasn't real at first. She's the clone, and, the creator fell in love with it.
Yeah. Yeah, Galatea was a perfect name for it. It was a name a scientist would come up with. I liked that. It was a nice touch. They clearly spent some time thinking about what they were going to name it. So,
she's a person, damn it!
She is a person, damn it.
Not really, she's a clone, but yeah.
So we talked about it a little bit.
She is a person, damn it.
So we talked about it a little bit on the way. What does this episode tell us about scientists?
They have so much power in this world.
Yeah, they really do. I imagine that it must almost be a requirement to have at least like a bachelor's degree in biology or something to run for president or something. Like seriously, with all these supervillains that are science themed, you really need a president, CIA director, these people who have a great understanding of engineering or physics or biology or something. If you're going to deal with these threats they have to deal with, you can't just be the toughest dude. You have to know these
most baddest dude.
Yes. So this is a world where I think science is really at a premium, and science is sexy. Because they're coming up with these really cool...
Science is what now?
I think it's pretty sexy in this world. That they're coming up with all these really cool ideas, and scientists must be at the top of the social pyramid.
Science?
They live in Scarsdale, in all the hot suburbs.
Right.
They have penthouses in Manhattan. And
dude, science is hot as shit.
Send their kids to private school. I imagine... They don't really deal with race relations in this show, but I imagine that there's an issue with getting more minorities into science and all sorts of things like that. Just like there's in the real world.
Yeah, I don't think they would have it here.
I mean, I don't think they've conquered racism. You definitely get hints that there is still racism in the DC universe.
Could be. Ugh. I don't know. I just feel like... Sorry. No, just coughing.
Yeah?
I don't know. It's just like the thinking about science being sexy, and it's just hilarious. Because it's super true, It's... all these scientists you see later on are absolutely manipulating everything behind the scenes. They're the ones creating heroes and villains, like they said before. They create the Royal Flush Gang
woman and
a
couple other ones. General Hardcastle says
we'll see a bunch later on too that end up becoming a really, really impressive episode, in my opinion.
We're only 2 episodes away from an episode where... 3 episodes away where we deal with that.
Yep. Crazy shit right there. It's just fun to think about. It's really nothing too it's nothing too groundbreaking, but it's just like a clever little, this is the importance of a scientist in this era. You can do anything in this world, and that's such a nice little touch. It's so nice to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. So, any last words for listeners?
You always drink your tea when it's the coldest.
Wise words.
Yes.
Have a good night, and watch out for